The beautiful base you're looking at right now, DonFuer, is about to be destroyed. But the reason it's being destroyed is fascinating. You see, on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, everything gets griefed, given enough time. Since there are no rules, one way or another, bases get found and wiped out. But the reason this base will be destroyed today is that the owner is allowing it to happen. A few hours from now, a team of 4 griefers will be coming in to burn the city to the ground. But why? Why would a base owner who spent countless hours on this work of art go along with griefing his own creation? It's complicated, but today's story is one of friendship and unity, but also a story about how even in Minecraft, the in-game politics between groups can cause a wave of destruction that everyone gets caught in. I hope you're ready for today's history lesson, because it's a long one. Our story begins 7 years ago. The year is 2013, when Minecraft was at the top of its first wave of popularity. A player named D-Loaded started a base with some high school friends on a small Minecraft server. They gave their base the name DonFuer. They originally thought the name meant Father's Gift in German, but after they found out the translation was incorrect, they stuck with the name anyway. Eventually, this original base was destroyed, but D-Loaded decided his next base would have the exact same name, so it turned into a tradition for each of his bases to be named DonFuer. Even if the bases got griefed, they could be rebuilt elsewhere and keep the same name. D-Loaded would spend the next 3 years traveling to different Minecraft servers building a new version of his base on each one, making him one of the earliest people to establish a set of megabases across multiple Minecraft servers. By 2016, he had created at least 8 different DonFuers on different servers. Early in that same year, D-Loaded met a player named Hermeticlock on a small faction server, and the two became quick friends. They ended up building the 9th DonFuer together on that same server, and little did they know that their new friendship would have major ramifications on a completely different server in the future. During 2b2t's YouTube invasion and Russia War of 2016, Herm watched all of the videos coming out of the server and tried to convince D-Loaded to join with him. Eventually, he agreed, and the two joined the server in the middle of the massive conflict. They would travel far from spawn and around Christmas time began work on the 10th DonFuer, the first of the bases to be on 2b2t. From the beginning, Herm was able to gain the trust of many individuals. Unlike many new players at that time, he understood the server and how the community functioned. He invited well-known individuals to the base, while D-Loaded was doing all the building. Things seemed to be going well, but in classic anarchy fashion, all it took was one bad apple to spoil the bunch. The base got leaked on January 14th, 2017, and Bubba J arrived to attack. Despite 6 of the base members being online, they could not kill Bubba J. Despite losing the base, the footage seen here, taken by Herm, got him even more attention in the community. After the grief, D-Loaded took a small break from 2b2t to play on other servers, and Herm would go on to create a spawn base that became a popular place for established players to hang out. This spawn base and the concept around it was eventually turned into a fully fledged group by Hermeticlock, the Spawn Masons. The group was originally based on players coming together in an otherwise hostile environment to build small lodges every single week, which they would then destroy after each meeting. The group had a loose set of rules that most members followed, but when D-Loaded returned from his break, he joined the Masons, and him and Herm were back together again. Not long after, I actually joined the Spawn Masons, and there were plenty of shenanigans going on. But this would not last forever, because near the end of the summer, during the grief of the base Summer Melon, my comrade Alpha Computer and I ended up killing a fellow Mason during the raid. Since harming another member of the Masons was against the rules of the group, some of the members wanted us kicked and demanded a vote. Hermeticlock urged the group that the rules were being taken too seriously and had not been enforced in the past. It was just a block game after all, and the Masons were meant to be lighthearted fun. But the group voted. Alpha Computer was kicked out, but I was allowed to stay since I had apologized to the member that we had killed. But I didn't win that vote by much. Not long after this ordeal, Herm stepped down as the leader of the Masons. It wasn't fun for him anymore. It was meant to be lighthearted fun, but had become closer to an actual cult, with members taking the game far more seriously than even longtime 2B2T players. Herm disbanded the entire group, but not long after, the more dedicated members brought it back on their own. Herm remained part of these new Masons and preferred to work on his own projects from the sidelines. I chose not to join the Reformed Masons and parted ways with the group, though I remained good friends with many of them, especially Herm. After the Mason blowout, the 12th DonFuer was griefed. Deloaded would play for a few more months before leaving 2B2T in early 2018. Over the next 2 years, both friends would have completely different experiences. Hermeticlock would take back control of the Masons again near the end of 2018 after the group began slowly dying, and used them to work on several of his projects on 2B2T, such as utilizing baritone bots to help construct the Masonic symbol at spawn, making it the largest obsidian structure ever built on the server. Despite the group accomplishing many of these amazing feats, Herm's feelings on the Masons eventually soured. His small group that he had created for fun had become filled with players that treated this server as their lives, and he found these people insufferable. Deloaded went on to build DonFuer 13 through 17 on different Minecraft servers, but he would eventually come back to 2B2T, which brings our story to 2020 and shows just how destructive 2B2T politics can actually be. After being fed up with the Masons, Herm quietly began planning a new group, one that reflected the original spirit of the Masons, but was not to be taken too seriously. He called this group the GUARDSMEN, a group dedicated to choosing a single plot of land on the server and defending it from all invaders, no matter how badly it was griefed. The Guardsmen kept the Masons' original theme of brotherhood intact. The reveal of this new idea to the Masons ended up causing chaos, with members arguing fiercely with each other, accusing Herm of trying to cause civil war, which only proved his point that the group took the game too seriously. During this outrage, Deloaded had become the primary builder at a Mason base created to pass time during the quarantine, and he would go on to name the base the 18th DonFuer, continuing the tradition he had started 7 years ago. Many members of the Spawn Masons had built here, and after the group had imploded, it became their last remaining base. The 18th DonFuer was easily the most impressive, but because of its heavy association with the Spawn Masons, Hermeticlock was disgusted by it. The base stood as an example of a creator losing control of his original creation and becoming ashamed of it. Herm decided that just forming a splinter group was not enough. A message needed to be sent. So he approached his longtime friend and told him that he planned to grief the Masons' final base. This was Hermeticlock's declaration that the Spawn Masons were officially dead. While Deloaded was initially upset, he realized that he valued his friendship with Herm more than a Minecraft cult, so he told Herm that he would allow the base to be griefed. But 2 people would not be enough to get the job done, since the 18th DonFuer was massive. So Hermeticlock contacted me, asking if I could help him grief the base. I rarely grief bases anymore, but since Herm has been a longtime friend, I didn't have a problem becoming a griefer for hire. Alpha Computer also expressed interest, which made us a griefing team of 4. So now, we've talked enough about the 7-year history of DonFuer. It's time to show you this base up close, just hours before we burn the place to the ground, and Herm can finally be at peace, knowing his creation is symbolically destroyed. I'm here at the 18th DonFuer about 1 hour before we grief it, so I can give you a closer look at some of the builds that you're not going to be able to fully appreciate when we grief this place. I'm currently on a world download given to me by Deloaded, so we can tour the base without my presence alerting the members, because the last thing we need is 20 people logging in at the same time. Herm told us there's 2 rules for today's grief. 1, we have to leave some ruins standing. When I grief, I usually make the base unrecognizable, but Herm is a fan of beautiful looking ruins, so it is what it is. But 2, there's a dupe stash nearby that we are not allowed to touch, so that select members of this base can take what they need before they leave here for good. This is a big conflict between the Masons and the Guardsmen, but I don't really care about their politics. I'm just here because Herm needed a hand, and I wanted to see a cool looking base. You've seen the massive tower, so let's show you the Undercity. This entire section of the base is an underground city built beneath the main city on top. So just looking around, this is going to be very useful for laying TNT so we can blow up some of the buildings from underneath rather than having to go all the way up on the top and the roof. Oh yeah, that ceiling, I'm going to have a lot of fun putting TNT on that bad boy. But I'm glad we can tour the base like this because it offers us a way to sort of plan out the grief. Here's the exit to the underground portion. It leads to the walls of the city on the outside. That's a pretty cool idea, I'm not going to lie. Up on the top again, here is the northern district of the city. There's tons of houses and stuff. There's banners everywhere. I mean, just the amount of detail put into just the outside of these structures is pretty crazy. I'm glad we've taken the time to sort of look at some of these things up close, because when we're griefing, we're just going to be zooming by all this. Oh, check this out. South Corner Castle. What does this say? You actually look inside these? Well, obviously, I do. Check this sign out. Lightning. Oh, because it's got a wooden roof. That makes sense. You know, now that I think about it, if we used a flint and steel, we could burn down the majority of these buildings on the top here. We could save so much TNT by just burning them. Oh, that's genius, but I see the massive cathedrals over here. I want to check these out next. So what do we got here? Let's see. DonFuer Dance Hall. Oh, nice. I don't see anyone dancing, though. Here is the Great Hall. Now, believe it or not, Deloaded told me about this specific build. Apparently, he built it in less than a week. Like, it did not take him long at all, which is crazy, because look at this place. It's got this little throne here and everything. Yeah, I could get used to this. I could get used to this. But anyway, there's still more of the base to see. We're on the opposite side of the cathedral's top side here, and before we check out the member board, I want to take a look at some of the builds over here. We've got a massive totem pole that's made up of some of the members of this base in pixel art form. Here's a giant man-made mountain, and of course, the cat balloon. Oh, that's going to be a fun one to blow up later, I can already tell. But anyway, let's check out this member board right now, way up this staircase. And right there, that's what we're looking for, the member board, so we can see exactly who was here and when. Wow, that's quite a few members that have been here just in the past few months. If we go through here, I believe this is where a large part of the items at the main base are held. I mean, look at all these chests, all these shulkers. This is definitely a storage area, and it looks like we've got more storage here, but also bedrooms. So some members of the base did sleep around here. I mean, you can see by the beds. Oh, check this out. So each bedroom had like a little balcony overlooking the valley down there, that big savanna biome. That's a pretty sweet view. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. We've got the last little section of the storage here, but there's also an elytra runway, so players going to and from the base could carry supplies. That's pretty genius. This is the final section of the base before we start the grief in about an hour. But there's a red building over there. It's pretty empty, so not a whole lot to show, but this is Nordic's Tower. It's got like this spiral of grassy greens going all the way up to the top of the actual build. I mean, if you saw this thing from far away, it would seem very intimidating. And even at the top, there's like a little watchtower area. You could probably fly in there with your elytra. They got a fancy chandelier. This is a very good-looking build here, so overall, I like it. I like it. Well, anyway, it's time to start talking about the grief. In about an hour, we're going to be logging into 2B2T to carry out this raid, and hopefully we can get the entire job done without being spotted. With all 4 of us working together, it shouldn't take more than about an hour to grief this entire thing, but that's assuming everything goes according to plan. Let's do this. Mission accomplished. We griefed the entire base without getting spotted. And there's the dupe stash that Herm was telling us we can't touch. Just one shulker. Come on, man. Just one shulker. So DonFuer, a base started 7 years ago by a builder and his friends on a completely different Minecraft server, ended up being at the forefront of an almost civil war between groups on the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft. I guess the question now is, what's going to happen next? If you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. I would greatly appreciate it. Also make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram to stay updated on when new Minecraft content is coming out. But that's it for today, everyone. Take it easy, and I guess we're gonna have to see what happens.